There's little doubt that Keir Starmer and his hard-right, Thatcher-worshipping faction have an iron grip on the Labour Party at the present time. Occasionally, members of the Socialist Campaign Group, the group of left-wing MPs inside the Parliamentary Labour Party, pipe up with criticisms of his increasingly authoritarian and increasingly right-wing policies. However, apart from that, there really is no effective countervailing force to work against his what can only be described as Toryfication of Labour. At least so we thought until this weekend and the Scottish Labour Party conference here in Glasgow. The question is now arising in some people's minds, could it be that Anna Sawar and Scottish Labour are the ones to put the brakes on the rightward drift to the party? Possibly even reverse this drift? Well, this certainly seems to be the narrative that Anna Sawar himself is very, very keen to promote. Sawar is asked if he would challenge Starmer if decisions are made he does not agree with. The simple answer to that is yes, Anas says. Anybody that thinks any political leader gets everything right doesn't understand the history of politics. He said of his relationship with Starmer, we took a different view on 1. Supporting those on the front line on the pickets. 2. We took a different view in terms of the call for an immediate ceasefire in the Middle East. And 3. We took a different view on the 2-child benefit cap. 3 examples there where it could be argued, possibly be argued, that Anas is further to the left than Starmer. But that example, supporting those on the front line on the pickets, is really a bit disingenuous because Starmer really only forbade his shadow front bench from attending picket lines and supporting strikers. Ordinary Labour MPs, especially left-wing MPs, have been supporting strikers, have been in picket lines, and with no obvious consequences in terms of disciplinary action taken. The key question is, how do the 2 Scottish Labour MPs behave? Do they follow the Starmer line or do they follow the Starmer loyalist line? Well, to date, there's absolutely no evidence of either the MPs, Michael Shanks or Ian Murray, turning up on picket lines and supporting strikers. So it would seem in this instance that Starmer definitely trumps Sawar. Another example there that Sawar gives of where the 2 disagree is the 2-child benefit cap. Now, as part of his election campaign several months ago in Rutherglen, Michael Shanks gave a solemn oath to oppose the 2-child benefit cap, despite and regardless of anything that Keir Starmer might say. This, again, was surrounded by a big push to try and communicate the message that Scottish Labour MPs would act as some sort of bulwark against Starmer and against Starmer's right-wing policies. This idea was supported by no less a figure than Angela Rayner. Labour by-election candidate will not be suspended for voting against 2-child benefit cap. Angela Rayner said Michael Shanks would not face possible suspension from the party's Westminster group as, quote, that's not how we work in the Labour Party. Despite Anna Sawar's pronouncements, despite Michael Shanks' oath, written in blood practically, that he would definitely vote against it if given the opportunity, there's only one thing we know for sure. Keir Starmer's position on the issue has not changed one iota. Which brings us to the third example Sawar gives, and undoubtedly the most pivotal, and the one that dominated the Scottish Labour Party conference in Glasgow, both inside and outside. Hi there, we're here today at the Scottish Labour Party conference in front of the protest that's taking place at the moment in support of the Palestinians. As you can see, it's an absolutely massive turnout here, huge turnout, huge support from Glasgow in terms of the Palestinians, in terms of the Palestinian cause.
And we all just really hope that Keir Starmer is listening to these demands for an immediate ceasefire.
Yes, credit where credit is due. Scottish Labour at the conference voted for an immediate ceasefire. No pussyfooting about, no prefixing ceasefire with sustainable, because we all know Keir's use of this phrase, sustainable ceasefire, is simply code for waiting for the Israelis to ethnically cleanse the whole of Palestine, then talking about a ceasefire. No, this was a clear, unambiguous, immediate ceasefire now vote. From momentum, pressure builds. Scottish Labour conference has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. When will UK Labour follow? But will this have any effect on Keir Starmer? Well, possibly not at the moment, not while Scottish Labour only have 2 MPs, but opinion polls are indicating that Scottish Labour could win up to 30 MPs at the next general election. Now, if Keir Starmer's margin of victory down south in England is less than the opinion polls are currently suggesting, then that block vote of 30 MPs could become significant, especially if they genuinely do follow Anna Sarwar's allegedly more left-wing views. Then that could possibly, may provide an impediment in Keir Starmer just simply going full gung ahead with his plans for Tony Blair, Margaret Thatcher government 2.0, which seems to be what he's planning to do at the moment. Headline from the Daily Record. Sarwar, I will stand up to Starmer for Scotland. Frank comments, vote for us to oppose us. It's going to be a fascinating and hilarious election strategy from Scottish Labour. Because that's true, that is basically what he's saying. Vote for us to try and curb the worst excesses of Starmer. So it really is vote Labour to protect yourself from Labour, and it really possibly is going to become a hard sell the closer that we get to a general election. The only thing we have to judge on how a future larger bloc of Scottish Labour MPs would behave is how the current 2 Scottish Labour MPs behave. Do they follow Sarwar's lead and instructions, or do they just fall in line with the Starmer loyalists, who are the bulk of MPs that make up the Westminster Parliamentary Party? Well, the track record isn't encouraging. Scottish Labour MPs won't support SNP's Gaza ceasefire motion. Now, in November, when that vote took place, the previous SNP vote on the ceasefire, Anna Sarwar had already indicated that he supported an immediate ceasefire, not a sustainable ceasefire, but an immediate ceasefire. But it was clear that both Ian Murray and Michael Shanks followed exactly what Keir Starmer was saying. So that really doesn't bode particularly well if those 2 are in any way indicative of how a larger group of Scottish Labour MPs are going to behave after the next general election. Okay, now we jump forward to this week. Now, Anna Sarwar has made his position even clearer than he did in November. SNP Gaza ceasefire motion looks perfectly reasonable, Anna Sarwar says. Scottish Labour's 2 MPs are under pressure to back the SNP motion after the party voted overwhelmingly to call for an immediate ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Not only Anna Sarwar, but the delegates at the Scottish Labour conference in Glasgow made their position equally clear.
I also call on the UK party leadership, on Keir Starmer and David Lammy, to stop equivocating and take a stand. Call for a ceasefire now. And the message must go out from this conference that when this becomes our policy, if we vote for it today, we expect, no actually we demand, that Scottish Labour MPs in the House of Commons vote for a ceasefire when given the opportunity.
As part of the final day of the conference, Keir Starmer's keynote speech found him using a new formulation of words. Gone was the now discredited sustainable ceasefire, to be replaced by this phrase, a ceasefire that lasts. Now, is that significantly different from a sustainable ceasefire? Does it actually mean that he might be intending to support the current SNP vote for a ceasefire? Well, the thing is, we don't know. I mean, he still won't commit himself one way or the other. Dithering just seems to be built into his DNA, but he'll have to come to a decision at some point this week. Proof of the pudding is in the eating. Now, if Keir Starmer decides that he's not going to support the SNP ceasefire, or the SNP call for a ceasefire, and the two Scottish Labour MPs, Michael Shanks and Ian Murray, follow that lead, it clearly indicates that Starmer trumps Sarwar every time. That this whole thing about Scottish Labour MPs somehow becoming the resistance within the UK Labour Party to the neo-Tory project that Starmer's involved in will just be shown for the total rubbish it is. So we await to see what Keir Starmer decides. We await to see what Ian Murray and Michael Shanks decide to do. But what they decide to do, I think, will influence how an awful lot of people, especially in Scotland, will decide how they're going to vote come the general election. Thanks very much for watching. Please do like the video and do subscribe to the channel and help support left-wing voices on social media. Chat soon.